So, a very warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to Canada. I was going to sleep yesterday night because I'm in India right now. I'm not in Canada. And then Chrystia Freeland decides to ruin my morning again. She says, I'm going to twitch my way to glory. I'm going to resign. And all the twitching of all these years. And I was like, okay, we need to discuss this. And here we are today. And today we have a special guest on Canada. We have Alex Zoltan, aka the amazing Zoltan, with us. Alex, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, as you know, Alex, you have achieved the impossible. It's usually Daniel and I who are dressed up as zombies. So, can we address the how did you
I'm
manage to beat us both?
I'm dressing up. I'm dressing up like Panoon today.
Oh my God. So if you're dressed up as a Gurpatwan Singh Pannu, so the first thing you have to do when you dress up as Gurpatwan Singh Pannu is you have to go do the hand gestures. Indian government, you listen.
Justin Trudeau,
That's
you
fair.
must resign. You're a bad guy. You have attacked Canada. You must resign.
So Gurpatwan Singh Pannu, yes. But I don't know, where do we start, man? I'm so confused about the state of affairs in Canada. But for those who don't know, I just want to remind people of something. This is the woman, because we have 50% of the audience of all these podcasts that we do, right, are actually Indian, and 50% are Canadians. So this is a unique podcast. This is literally a Indo-Canadian podcast. So, Alex, before I play a small clip reminding of the evil that Chrystia Freeland is, this is your first time on the pod. Obviously, it's not going to be the last time. You're going to be a regular now on the pod, along with many other Canadians.
Doing
Tell
foreign
everybody about
interference.
yourself, what you do, what's your journey, how from what I understand, you were a real estate and a numbers guy, and now you're making documentaries and doing independent journalism in Canada. But tell everybody about you, and you're the minority in Surrey.
Oh, I was. Yeah, I grew up there. I live in New Westminster now, which is just over the bridge. I promised myself that when I was old enough, if I made it over the bridge from Surrey, I feel like I'd really made it in life. So I was able to accomplish that. Yeah, I make documentaries. I used to work in finance, and yeah, I do a lot of talking about Indian affairs issues because that seems to be kind of the topic du jour. So that's what brings me here today.
All right. So, but how did you get interested in this? Like, how did that happen? Like, why Indian affairs? Like, why India? Like, of all the things.
Well, I mean, I grew up around a lot of Indians, so I've always been interested in the subject, and I felt like there was a lot of misinformation coming from our mainstream media, our government-funded media here in Canada. So I thought I would deep dive into it and see what I could uncover. And it turns out that, like most things in Canada, what the CBC tells you is a half truth or a nothing truth.
No, not the
Oh, how
CBC. I
dare
think
you
this
insult the CBC, Alex? The
Make them as
CBC.
make them as a
Call him
shock to some
Jonathan.
of you.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
speaking of the CBC, here you guys may be in some hot water with the CBC as well.
As
Yep.
they say, Daniel's a good boy. He responds to everyone. I don't know. I saw something in my spam folder, and I usually don't respond to smaller outlets. That's all. My rule is, they have to have a larger reach for me to even bother responding. CBC is just small fry, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, I went in there full guns akimbo. Like, you want to do a hit piece on me? I'll come out and do a hit piece on you first. That was that was sort of my like great. And hopefully the CBC's watching this and like like yeah, I'll be the villain of this story. Sure, yeah. Oh, I criticized Panoon really too harshly, and that's the reason why all this is happening. Sure, I'm an Indian agent paid by Modi. Fine, okay. I I'm an Indian agent. I'm doing foreign interference. This show is foreign interference. We're all foreign interference. Great. Okay, fine. Like, what are they going to do? And then, yeah, I was able to, bring a friend and we recorded the entire interview. So they'll cut my words out and slander me and then like make some fake narrative. And then I'll just point to be like, yeah, here was the original clip. And then I'll make fun of them. And they think that like, oh, if someone like reads in the CBC that Daniel Bordman's a bad guy who's like mean and like doesn't say nice things about lunatics like trying to burn down a temple. Okay, like, like, does that change anyone's opinion of me? Like, isn't that kind of my like reputation now? Like, doesn't that help me, guys? So have fun, come after me. They tried to go after the entire Hindu community. That didn't really work too well. So they're kind of just sputtering. I hope sometime this week I get a like explosive interview. Hate speech, misinformation expert Daniel Bordman fans the flames of India. They're going to say seek Hindu divide because they want to fan of seek Hindu divide. But yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, okay, I'll be the foreign interference. Let's have fun.
Well, I mean, I hate to play devil's advocate here, but I guess my objection to the CBC is that, and like Evan Dyer has already defamed me and then blocked me, so I feel kind of weird aligning myself with him. But I do think that people, even if they're separatists in a foreign country, have a right to engage in peaceful protest. But the problem with the CBC, of course, is that they're not engaging in nuanced journalism. They've clearly picked a side in this entire thing, which I find very
and they omit the parts when it gets violent. So it's like you have the right, you have the right to say like, you have the right to say the CBC is like this, but I think Khalistan's a pretty retarded idea, and you have the right to do it. It's just,
oh my god, you keep using that word again and again.
I know. I want them to watch because they're not. I just want to let you know the CBC is very mad that I
prefer the term unserious.
Unserious, yeah, or mentally deficient. I call the Khalistani movement generally mentally deficient. And I'm going to do it again, over and over and over again. I also made fun of the white poopers guy, which they didn't like that, but I'll do it again. You white poopers. And okay, where are we in this? Yeah, but if the CBC just had any sort of objective balance, and like, why do Khalistanis get like the most like maximalist protections of free speech, even beyond where Canadian law is? Same with certain jihadis, and everyone else. Like, again, like the hit they're trying to do on me is basically the way I talk. They can't really find fault with anything I've said on the issue, but like all the questions I seem to be getting are like, do you not think the way you're talking is causing harm? And how does it make you feel that some people would be harmed by the way you talk? Like, so, like, can we just apply the logic we're applying to me to the other side for like 15 seconds and see if your argument still holds up? But that's just what the CBC is. And like, I don't mind getting attacked by them because so many people hate it that it's like, I don't even think it can even do reputational damage at this point. Like,
but just to add to that bit before we move on and we discuss the subject of the day, no serious Indian cares that Khalistanis protest in Canada. It is not a non-violent protest is the problem. Since the 1980s till this date, as we are recording this, it is the 17th of December 2024 in India already. I know it's 16th of December still in Canada, but we've had people who have lost lives. We've had families destroyed, both in India and Canada. It is not a non-violent protest. It is a violent protest. It works on threats and intimidation. Threats and intimidation for brown people, lawsuits for white people. That's how it works. And it was just that it's a very easy, convenient conduit. Oh, we're just a peaceful protest. You're not. And Punjabis know it better than anyone. For some of us who've lost family members, who've had kidnappings in Punjab, and there's not even a single family member, a person from Punjab in India who does not have a horrifying story to share, whether Hindu or Sikh or Muslim or Christian. Yeah, people don't realize there are Muslims and Christians in Punjab too. They are Punjabi too. And to reduce this, listen, CBC can do what they want to do. I like I said, I don't bother about platforms that have a smaller reach than even I do. Like I just don't care about the CBC as far as I'm concerned. There and to call Indian media Modi funded media when CBC is literally government subsidized media was the funniest bit in all of this for me. I don't care what they write about me. Like, thank you for, for making me famous in Canada. Thank you. That's all I can say. Nobody cares. But the point is to stand with a movement that has of that literally caused the largest terrorist attack in Canadian history, where Canadians died. More Canadians passed away in that horrific Air India bombing. Says a lot
and their
about
main
CBC.
thing is trying to lobby government and institutions to deny it. Like, we're going through a third thing, and like, what's Sikh? I mean, Sikh Dhaliwal. Like, how can we just like? Could you imagine if a U.S. representative was trying to pass like a 9/11 truther bill of how like Al Qaeda was the real victim of 9/11? Like, could you imagine someone trying to push that through, and that being a serious thing in the United States? But that's where it is. Like, it's like the soft on terror bullshit in Canada. Like, we just have no moral compass. We can't differentiate victim from like perpetrator. And yeah, it's like it's becoming a Canadian issue. Like, when they ask me like, oh, why so interested in India and all this stuff, it's like, this isn't an Indian issue. Like, this is us. Like, there's no Khalistan in Canada. And like, this is a Canadian issue. There's lunatics and yellow flags running around threatening to kill everyone in this country. Like, that's isn't that worth 15 minutes of Rosemary Barton's time? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, I am familiar with the history, and I've written about it extensively, so I'm not trying to minimize that at all, or anything of that nature. I'm just saying, purely on a matter of principle, I think that the right to freedom of speech and expression is sacrosanct in Canada. That doesn't mean that you're free to protest at a place of worship, or to intimidate people, or harass them, or obviously engage in more nefarious things, which it does happen in that part of the world. I am aware of that, but I mean, if the problem that I see with the CBC and with the government of Canada generally, I think about Diagolon in comparison to Khalistan. They treat these two movements, they use it with both fists. So with the Diagolon thing, that's how they can restrict your freedom of speech, and with the Khalistan thing, that's how they give it back. And I find that very hypocritical.
That's a good point. Yeah, like the balance there of like, if we're gonna treat like, if they act like, okay, if we want to like crack down on like radical ideologies proliferating in our country, and you want to say like, yeah, some of the Diagolon guys are ding dongs, yeah, okay, then you can go after them with mechanisms of socialist thing. But like, yeah, with the Diagolon stuff, like, they went like so crazy. Like, you kind of have to give the Diagonalese people credit. It wasn't the hardest thing they did to like completely manipulate the entire Canadian establishment, both media and politicians. Like, but they did do that. Like, they fooled the entire establishment. It wasn't that hard though. Like, they just declared themselves an obviously fictional country, and their vice president was like a magical cocaine addicted goat or something. And then then the government just turned into like, literally tried to shut it down and claim it was causing like terrorism in the convoy and whatever. And and you saw how that the balance, a good point, because like the not respecting free speech and all principles to go after the Diagolese really led to some negative consequences
that have never actually committed an attack or a terrorist event.
No, they've just been stupid at times. They said dumb things sometimes. Yeah.
And from my experience, because I kind of got involved in journalism through the Coutts thing, so I've interacted a bit with the Diagolon people. Diagolon, for its part, and I'm not casting everybody with the same brush, but them and the Khalistan movement have been the most toxic online communities that I have interacted with in the Canadian politics space. And I find it interesting that the Canadian government platforms both of these groups for totally different reasons. But should
we get on to the Canadian government that hasn't been past,
present,
future?
So you guys were talking about the convoy and many things. So I guess we can start with this wonderful clip to take your minds back to the glory days where, this is what the minister who resigned used to say.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted of individuals who donated to the Give, Send, Go and the GoFundMe campaigns. Are they considered designated people under the Emergencies Act, meaning that their credit cards could be cut and financial services are targeting them as well?
Okay, so the names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions. and accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement, will be making the operational decisions.
Oh, these evil people. These
Ding
evil,
dong,
evil.
the witch is dead. Witch, old witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
So
You know
this
what
is
really strikes me as odd about that video clip and about that entire event is that it was a glitch in the matrix because it showed that the government of Canada, if they are capable of figuring out who sent $20 to the convoy, how could they have not figured out who all of the money launderers and the big time fentanyl dealers are, and so on and so forth? It shows that there is just no political will to actually bring criminals to justice. It's just so outrageous.
Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway. And how, like, Kushal is my friend Salman. You might know Salman Seema. Like, he made a good point. Like, he said, like, the thing is, like, he's a political prisoner from Iran. He's been tortured. He's been in solitary confinement. He's been abused. He's been arrested for bullshit reasons. He said, Khamenei never froze my bank account. Like, that's something that even, like, the IRGC doesn't do to Iranians, because like when you start freezing bank accounts, you start to get into trouble with like international money. Like there's externalities to it other than freezing the bank accounts. So even some of the world's worst dictators won't do it. But Justin Trudeau just boom, freeze the bank accounts. Just it's a single mom, just freeze your bank account. Why not? There's no criminal warrant out for it. Just freeze the bank account.
Yeah. So post that, this has happened. So Chrystia Freeland has officially written this letter to the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau. It has been an honor of my life to serve in the government, working for Canada and Canadians. We have accomplished a lot together. On Friday, you told me you no longer want me to serve as your finance minister and offered me another position in the cabinet. Upon reflection, I have concluded that the only honest and viable path is for me to resign from the cabinet. To be effective, a minister must speak on behalf of the Prime Minister with his full confidence. In making your decision, you made clear that I no longer credibly enjoy that confidence and possess the authority that comes with it. For the past number of weeks, you and I have found ourselves at odds about the best path forward for Canada. Our country today faces a grave challenge. The incoming administration in the United States is pursuing a policy of aggressive economics nationalism, including a threat of 25% tariffs. We need to take the threat extremely seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today. Okay, every time somebody says powder dry and is a politician, I get very worried. So we have the
Especially
reserves we
Chrystia
made.
Freeland.
Yeah, man. I mean, cocaine Chrystia. That's what I call her. So, yeah, basically, she's resigned and she has thrown Trudeau under the bus, or Trudeau has thrown her under the. My first question, Alex, has she thrown Trudeau under the bus, or Trudeau has thrown her under the bus?
Oh, I believe that she's thrown him under the bus. I think that one of the things that this illuminated is that she had a lot more support amongst the party than I think people realized. Sean Fraser, I think that he resigned largely based off of the fact that Freeland had resigned. A lot of ministers, I mean, the genuineness of politicians is up for others to decide, I suppose. But a lot of politicians looked really upset today. Anita Anand, for instance, had tears in her eyes. And yeah, I don't know how much you can trust these people, but I was surprised at how upset people in the party were. And then apparently she got a standing ovation
you mean
as well.
you mean this moment of Anita Anand,
The food bank lady.
Yeah, whose husband allegedly banked the entire contract for COVID
Life
tests.
Labs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's listen to Anita Anand. Oh, look at her.
Say that Chrystia Freeland is a good friend, someone I work with very, very closely as president of the Treasury Board and Minister of Transport. This news has hit me really hard, and I'll reserve further comment until I have time to process.
Oh my God, it's hit her really hard. I just want to let people know, as an Indian, barely anyone in our community likes Anita Anand. We don't like her. She's not
we
that
don't like
popular.
her either.
Yeah, no one likes her. I don't think she likes her. She's pretty liberal, but she's a good liberal. Like, no one likes her, but fills a diversity quota and can embezzle the hell out of your tax dollars. I mean, good on her.
But apparently, Chrystia Freeland received a standing ovation when she came into the emergency caucus meeting, post House of Commons. So I mean, these are just rumors coming out of the Ottawa Mill. But...
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Like, not everyone, like her supporters, clapping for her. She comes in the room, like that means something. Like, well, what it means. I mean, most of these idiots are feckless cowards to begin with. So, you know, we're dealing with a group of. Which means, though, like all of a sudden, if something hits critical mass, then it can happen right away. But as long as there's sort of like a bit of a bulwark where like you have to put some personal risks to do something, I don't really trust liberal backbenchers to, you know, say, okay, we're leading the charge for country and pride. The interesting statement I saw was like, I'm not sure how accurate this is, like the NDP putting out a statement that if Justin Trudeau hasn't resigned by January or February, they're going to look at a no confidence thing, which is basically like, if you aren't out of office the day after Jagmeet qualifies for a pension, we're calling an election. So
it's unlikely.
That is so Jagmeet. Listen, as much as I dislike Trudeau, Daniel is my witness. I hate Jagmeet Singh. I hate him with every single bone in my body. That man. Okay, just look at the two clips. He's like, Alex, I want you to break this down. I'll play both the clips. This one is while he was entering Ottawa, the Parliament, and the other is a clip from his press conference. Okay, so tell me the significant difference in both the clips. This guy's so evil, man. I hate Jagmeet Singh. Oh my god, I hate him so much. Where is he? Where is my evil Khalistani? Yeah, let's play this one first. Okay.
Mr. Singh, give us your thoughts on what's going on. Do you have confidence in the Prime Minister?
Well, what has become really clear, looking at the Liberals again and again, they're more focused on fighting themselves. And what we believe we need to do is fight for Canadians. And so we're seeing more and more examples of them fighting themselves, focus on themselves, instead of fighting for Canadians and focus on Canadians.
Do you think Trudeau needs to quit?
Well, I'll have more to say. I'll have a full press conference later on today.
Election? Are you ready
We'll have a full press conference later on.
Pierre Poilievre is calling for you to do your job and to basically bring this minority government down, that you have the power. Are you going to do that?
We'll have a full press conference very shortly, and I invite you to come ask more questions there.
Do you think Trudeau's time's run out? Has his time run out?
Well, absolutely. We're going to be government in 2025.
All right. So this is what he says before the press conference. Now listen to what he says during the press conference. I'm like, you did a press conference for this, Jagmeet? I mean, that's a very Punjabi way of addressing someone from your community. But yeah, who is this? This guy's so weird, man. He's the worst representative of the Sikh community we have in Canada. Okay, listen to what he says.
And instead of focusing on these issues, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are focused on themselves. They're fighting themselves instead of fighting for Canadians. For that reason, today I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go.
Really? This is what he has to say? This is his contribution to Canadian discourse? So, Alex, what do you make of Jagmeet Singh and his just...
Oh, he's the worst. He's the worst. He is worse than Trudeau. He's the absolute worst. He's just, yeah. I mean, I actually went to his riding. You know, it never opens, his constituency office.
You're talking about Burnaby.
Yeah. It's just down the road. The lights don't even come on. He's completely useless as a politician, and he's holding the country hostage.
Yeah, well,
so
some
did this.
Canadian billionaires should do something funny and just offer to pay Jagmeet Singh's pension now if he calls an election. Like if he's get 2.5 million over a year, just be like, I'll offer you 2.6 to do it now.
Yeah, we should set up a GoFundMe.
That'd be pretty funny.
Try to outbid the government of Canada pension.
He's disgusting. And then after all of this, I just wanted to play one more clip. He says this on the floor of the parliament. Like, what is this monster? Okay, tell me what the difference is in all of this.
Canadians literally cannot afford the groceries they need. They can't afford to find a home to call their own. And now Trump, buddies of the conservatives, MAGA conservatives love this guy, Trump is threatening hundreds of thousands of jobs in Canada. And the Prime Minister is more focused on himself, on infighting. The Prime Minister cannot remain in that position. Will he resign?
Look at the reply.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Kabuki
Mr. Speaker,
theater.
this is not the time for slogan. This is not the time for partisanship.
This is not
This
the
is
time
not
for
a time
slogan.
to make jokes, Mr. Speaker. This is about rallying for Canadians. This is a time where Canadians needs to know that this House and all the members are standing behind them, that we're going to invest in Canadians, that we're going to invest in this country, that we're going to invest in our workers, and that we're going to invest in our industry, Mr. Speaker, and that we're going to prepare Canada to be the best prepared to be able to deal with our U.S. friends. Mr. Speaker, this is the time where we show that we're all Canadians.
We show we all Canadians in a very French accent. I'm just joking.
Yeah. I like, my favorite thing is Dominic LeBlanc got made finance minister. Like, there was no finance minister for a day, then they made Dominic LeBlanc it. And, like, Dominic LeBlanc is like an old family friend. He used to babysit Justin Trudeau, so now he's literally being brought in to be his babysitter once again. That's life. And
I think the kind of news story here that's really, really important that isn't being focused on is the fact that our deficit is out of control.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have completely blown through the fiscal guardrails to the point where the finance minister abruptly resigned this morning because she didn't want to present the economic statement. And then I don't know how closely you guys were following the House of Commons proceedings, but they announced at the very last minute that there would be no unveiling of the economic statement, which completely went against the press releases that the CBC had put out earlier that morning. So it just shows, it's just indicative of the complete state of dysfunction that the Canadian government is in. It's quite worrying, actually.
Yeah, I mean, any peeling back the layers on this government, you realize it's an instant clusterfuck. Let's go back to like the Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau. I think it's the interesting question of like who threw who under the bus. Like, it kind of looks like Justin Trudeau was preparing to throw Chrystia Freeland under the bus, but then she kind of grabbed onto him and then kind of used him as a human shield as they both went under the bus. I think this is like the best. So I'm happy. That's the best case scenario is. And for Justin Trudeau to do this to like his most loyal lackey, Chrystia Freeland is a nobody. Okay. Chrystia Freeland is a construction of Justin Trudeau's narcissistic imagination. This image that was created of Chrystia Freeland, the genius, political, whatever. Again, you saw it. She's finance minister. Oh, it's not going to go past 40 billion. It's 62 billion, right? This construction for Chrystia Freeland as a genius is purely based on Justin Trudeau's because it's 2015 statement and attitude for the last 10 years. But Chrystia Freeland did earn it. Like, she was the most loyal soldier. She took all the things. She played the genius. Now, she didn't say anything particularly mind-blowing, but she just kind of twitched around. And, and when it came down to, like, cracking down on his opponent, she froze the bank account. She came in, and she showed that we protected. And then, like, when Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott stepped up, when anyone tried to do the honorable thing, Chrystia Freeland was sent in as the paragon of honor and virtue and feminism to do the dirty work of Justin Trudeau. And then it says a lot about Justin Trudeau that he was planning on being like, okay, I'm going to axe, to protect myself, I need to axe Chrystia Freeland right now, because the man had no loyalty. And then Chrystia, I think, kind of being the bag man of the Liberal Party for 10 years and like knowing how these inside jobs work, I think she kind of did the reverse card, right? Said, okay, you can't fire me. I quit. I'm still going to stand here. Be like, if you are firing me, then fine. I'll leave you with this. I'll call you out on something like you're frivolous, whatever. And people take that to mean like the GST holiday being ridiculous. And then, on the way out, she baits the Conservatives into going, Chrystia Freeland said this, and this about you. And then again, there's such a clusterfuck that no one will tie her to this $6.62 billion. It will get tied to Trudeau, and maybe LeBlanc now, and she'll skate off as like, she'll go around being a political genius. She'll get a show maybe on CBC. And then if she wants to try and run for Liberal Party leader, she can do that. However, I still am going to go, everything people think about the next Liberal leadership party race is incorrect. And I've said this for the last 7 years. The next Liberal Party leadership race will be defined by whatever there's going to be a lunatic who's going to start screaming about Israel. I've said this way before October 7th. I said for 7 years. There's going to be a lunatic screaming about Israel. They're going to then set the pace in the race. So everything's going to get thrown out the window because they're all going to come in with the old school, like, oh, we're doing Liberal Party politics as usual. Someone's going to come out and blame the Jews for everything. And it's going to be Jews, Israel, Zionists, this. You can, I guess, India too, Hindutva.
And her name is Melanie Jolie.
And I mean,
the writing's on the wall.
Melanie Jolie's kind of, you could say, ramping up to do this, but she's not full-throated and full in. Someone's going to actually say the quiet part out loud. Someone's going to go full, like, Islamist UK, like free Palestine, cousin marriage, like this is my platform. And now I don't think they're going to win, but I'm just saying that's going to define the race, throw everything out the window, and then everyone's going to have to react to that and see what happens. Like that's what I've been saying about the next LPC leadership race for years now.
But Alex, I want you to explain what Trudeau has done here. This is his spiel after whatever has happened. So listen to this dum-dum.
Bonsoir mes amis, merci d'être ici ce soir.
Bibliothèque.
As-tu des libéraux dans la salle?
Pamplemousse.
It's just now? Is this happening tonight?
Merci Sachet, merci Claudette pour l'introduction et de bien nous accueillir ce soir. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's obviously been an eventful day, and it has not been an easy day. But I wanted to come here tonight and speak with you, dedicated, devoted members of the Liberal Party, because you, not me or any other politician, are the beating heart of this movement. You are the ones that never shy away from knocking on doors, from making phone calls. Pierre Poilievre is uninterested in building more homes, delivering vital supports, creating good jobs, or even, as we saw with his opposition to our GST tax break, he's opposed to even cutting taxes. That's a given with the Conservative Party. But what makes Poilievre different is that he's willing to actively bet against Canadians and Canada. He says Canada is broken while actually trying his damnedest to break it. See, we're not living in simple times. The world is increasingly complex, unstable, and dangerous. And in this new global reality, we must all pull together. I love this country. I really do. I trust Canadians. There is no place I'd rather be than Canada, and it is the absolute privilege of my life to serve as your Prime Minister. Now, Canada is the best country on earth, but it's not perfect. That's why I wake up every single day thinking about how to make this nation work better for all Canadians. That mission to consistently put in the work so that we're living up to our ideals and values, that's at the core of what makes us Liberals. And it's why you show up here, even on the toughest days, as a party. You know that the only thing that ultimately matters is fighting like hell every single day to make life better for Canadians, and that's what you do. So please, enjoy your holidays, recharge by spending some much-needed time with your loved ones, and come back ready to show Canadians we have a serious positive vision for the future of this great country that is worth fighting for. Thank you, my friends. I look forward to spending time with all of you this evening.
Alex, he's not going anywhere.
Wow. No, and that doesn't surprise me at all. You know, like, again, just because the memory is fresh, what happened in the House of Commons today. In politics, 99% of your job is managing people's expectations, and the other 1% is timing. Basically, you can think of a politician as a professional disappointment manager, and they had all day today to tell people that they were not going to be unveiling that economic statement. And they didn't. They left it until the very last moment. And that's what caused the House of Commons to erupt into chaos. I was wondering what Trudeau was busy doing during the time that he should have been running the government. And I'm quite convinced after watching that he was probably practicing that speech in the mirror.
Yeah.
Pretty
That wouldn't
disturbing.
surprise me. I mean, my fear with Justin Trudeau going forward, see on the read on this, is like, I really think he wants to stay in power for Trump to get in because he wants those 25% tariffs put on Canada. He wants to be in there. He wants Trump to put tariffs on Canada so things get bad, and then he can turn around and say, this is what Trump did. I had the economy going great. We had $10 a day daycare. Healthcare was free. Dental care was free. Pharmacare was free. Air was free. Water was free. And everyone was a billionaire. And then Trump came in and ruined the economy, and 10 years of hard work where we were in the strongest position possible. It's like Rosemary. I watched some Rosemary Barton today because I love watching my enemies bleed. She was going and she talked about the failed economic statement, which was $62 billion, but in decline near the end, which was like it's always happening, like which was blew out the 40 billion, but was declining as we went on. The deficit is reducing as it's increasing, it's reducing because it's like what are we doing with our time here? But I think you agree with me that Trudeau, I think, wants those tariffs to blame someone else for his failure.
Yeah, he definitely wants to run against Trump versus running against Polyev. And it's not going to be a winning strategy, of course. The other crazy thing too that got brought up in the House of Commons today is that buried in the this giant gargantuan document that is the fall economic statement is their border plan. And there is no border plan. It's just a random number, which is $1.3 billion. They arrived at $1.3 billion because it roughly translates to $1 billion US upon currency exchange, but there's no allocation of the money. So they've been having these closed-door meetings for the last 2 months about Trump and the border, and they accomplished nothing. They have no plan. It's clear that the bus has not been driven over the guardrails. There's just no driver at all.
Yeah.
There is no one driving the bus right now.
And every competent minister has like 4 different portfolios. Like if you can tie your shoes, so if you pass the Seamus O'Regan test, right? So because I'm pretty sure Seamus still needs Velcro, but if you can pass the Seamus O'Regan test, you're not only a minister, you're like minister of 4 things. You're minister of health and indigenous studies and transportation and women's transportation and indigenous women's transportation health. Right. And Chrystia Freeland was in charge of a bunch of different things, and she left. So now Dominic LeBlanc's still Minister of Public Safety and Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs.
Right. Yeah. It's actually quite frightening.
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't have 25% tariffs coming down, I'd actually kind of think it's kind of good that, listen, if we didn't have to deal with Trump and have to have a border, but I would say it's probably good, that they have no plan. Right? It's better than the Liberals having a plan in the last year. I think they kind of just thought we don't need to have a plan. We just embezzle money. We're gonna have to prorogue Parliament to not expose some of the $100 million to $1 billion slush funds.
Can you explain the prorogue Parliament bit? I think Indians may not understand that. Can you explain what proroguing is?
Yeah, basically, in layman's terms, maybe Al has a better definition for this, but the ruling party, if they don't want to do something in Parliament, they can just kind of run away and close Parliament for a few months. So that's basically what this is. So if they're forced to give something out in Parliament, they need to release a statement by the end of the year, and there's only a couple sitting days left at the end of the year, well, you can just prorogue Parliament, so you're not in violation of it. It's basically running away. And this is kind of the strategy that Conservatives have been using to fight the new crazy bills of Justin Trudeau. So like for a lot of like Bill C-63, for example, it's a crazy online hate speech law, right? You saw the Conservatives last time they came with the hate speech laws, Bill C-16 and C-11, they actually went hard after them because there was enough time for them to pass and get through the Senate, did the math. But now with Bill C-63, like the best way to stop Bill C-63 is to play the delay game. It's to sort of force them into things. Instead of talking about Bill C-63, you demand that they send the fall economic statement, which they don't want to release at their $22 billion over the deficit. They blew it out. So instead, they prorogue Parliament so they can't do anything for a few months. And then because they can't do anything in a few months, they can't push their legislation forward. Then it won't have enough time to go through the House and the Senate. And then once an election gets called, everything gets reset anyway. So the strategy kind of for the Conservatives, if you're following, is sort of running up the clock, clock management, delay, force the Liberals to, again, find scandals, demand certain things from them, and then force the Liberals to prorogue Parliament to basically shut it down so they can't do anything and can't burn the country any further.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty thorough explanation for sure. I mean,
so it's like an adjournment. In India, we call it an adjournment of the session.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
And right now, the reason that we're adjourned is because there's such a backlog of corruption related to just one file. But the Sustainable Development and Technology, SDGTC, is the acronym. And there's hundreds of conflicts of interest in this one $600 million file, if my numbers are correct, that they essentially just stopped passing laws in Ottawa for the time being.
It's a green energy slush fund. What a way to go.
Yeah.
I think that's the story of Canada. I think the more I look into Canadian politics, and eventually as a political nerd, it's my duty to do a deep dive into Canadian scams and stuff like that. And I've been trying to, when it comes to Indian politics, I follow Indian politics and I follow my province, like the state I come from, Maharashtra, and my ethnic state, Punjab. I follow these two provinces of India and I follow Indian politics in general. So now I'm trying to do a deep dive into Canadian politics. And you know what? They keep mocking the third world. I have noticed one thing. The difference between the third world and the developed world is the one thing the developed world has managed to do very well is that as far as the municipal level corruption is concerned, they fixed that bit really well. So the average person, they have figured out that the average person does not get bothered beyond the municipal level stuff. So then the rest of it, let us have our shady deals, and it's quite interesting. But what do you make of this guy now? So there are a couple of these people who have started speaking up, right? So this is one clip that is going around.
Obviously, many of my colleagues have put up, and I've been a great defender, but I just don't see how we move forward without having a future minister resign. Today was supposed to be a presentation of a plan, and now we're talking about a finance minister who has resigned. I don't see how this helps the Prime Minister, and I don't see a way out and how this helps us talk about Canadians while we're continuing to talk about what's happening right now.
So he needs to go. Sorry, I'd like to hear you say.
I think he needs to go, yeah.
Justin Trudeau.
Yep. Yeah. I think today's resignation is a sign of that.
Any other Canadian government would have been brought to its knees thousands of times over the Trudeau administration. And we are such a timid, scandal-averse country generally, where we truly believe that Barack Obama's biggest scandal was the tan suit type thing, not, weaponizing the state against his opponents. But we tend to believe that because we like believing things like that. And we like to believe that type of stuff about ourselves. Because one of our big defining nationalist traits, especially on the left, is we're better than America. Oh, they're so rowdy. We're so much better than them. They're fools. We're better than them. Oh, they're crazy. Look at, we're not. And this is one of the reasons why Canadian media ignores a lot of scandals, is because they don't want to burst everyone's bubble and sense of moral superiority. But once scandals like reach into Canadian consciousness, usually it's a big deal, right? Because now we have to sort of clean up. But Trudeau's hit so many of them. Like, I can't think of another prime minister who we would, if two it's two separate people. Like, listen, if one person comes and calls for Pierre to resign like next year because he like cut the carbon tax and some red Tories like blah, and one, okay, who gives a shit? Kick him out. But once like two people like say this is scandal ridden, he's like not fit for leadership, and this isn't like an ideological push, like he's too far left or right, like that, Poilievre would never live that down. He would be hounded out, and like it's just not something he could survive. The fact that Trudeau's just like there's like I don't know at least three people, a house father, and then two others I saw. At least three people publicly came out and said resign. There's a contentious thing. We know 23 people signed a letter before. Apparently there's 60 in the total. Like I don't understand how he survives this, but he just has this Teflon attitude where he's like he truly doesn't care about the integrity of the country or the office. This is again why I'm afraid the man's going to stay in power to specifically enable 25% tariffs. So it's not about winning. Like again, people are like, oh, he's going to
run out.
It's not about winning.
He can run out the clock until
it's about protecting his reputation long term. It's about when he goes around to Europe and does his Greta Thunberg impression to lecture Europeans about climate change. He gets to say, I was a great leader, I had all this done, but we were undone by American far-right nationalism and Donald Trump, which is the most dangerous thing in the world today, even more dangerous than Russia and China and the Ayatollahs in Iran put together times a million. And that's my worry. It's just every read on this guy is like, I mean, my condolences to Rosemary Barton, who had to watch her mother and father fight on national TV. But other than that, I think the country's pretty happy with how things went today.
Yeah, and I would say that, in Canada's defense, that even just the last 4 years of Trudeau does not fit neatly within the rest of Canadian history, right? This is not normal. This government is completely abnormal. And I think that all of this really started during the convoy, because that's when you had this undemocratic supply and confidence agreement between the Trudeaus and the Liberals. Or sorry, the Liberals
and
the
Jagmeets and the Trudeaus.
The NDP, yeah, the Jagmeets and the Trudeaus. And it's a really interesting psychological thing that's going on here, because nobody voted for that coalition in Canada. And so you have a population that hates the government. You have a government that kind of hates its citizens because they honked them into oblivion and forced them to be total hypocrites. And you have a government that not only hates its citizens, but is completely unaccountable. So what happened was people just stopped coming to work. It's that old Napoleon Bonaparte quote, right, about do not attribute malice where incompetence will suffice. Yeah. I mean, people have just abandoned their posts over the last 4 years. I mean, we actually have public service sector workers, for instance, that are fighting to not go back to work for 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just no one is driving the ship.
Oh, I want a chainsaw wielding Argentinian man in my living room stat. Like
we're a rudderless, stinking ship.
Yeah.
At this point,
I have some criticisms for Poilievre here, which I think, like, I've said for a long time that the Conservative Party has been stuck in 2006 for years. And I said about my big attack on Scheer and O'Toole. I was saying this for years, like they're stuck in 2006. Then post-convoy and Trudeau and Poilievre coming in. Poilievre, I think, has done a very good job of taking the Conservative Party into 2022. The problem is now the Conservative Party is in 2022 and they still can't get to 2024. This narrow focus of we need a carbon tax election. I understand why you do it in 2022, because the thought of just taking a tax and eliminating it to zero, you need a strong mandate. Like he was trying to say, I have a mandate to eliminate the carbon tax and axe the tax. I was voted on that because it was the carbon tax election, blah, blah, blah. This type of mentality where it's like, actually, you're now undermining yourself. Like I want to see the Conservatives should sort of shift gears now and broaden out the mandate they're going to get. Like, start acting like you're in charge, and they should be smart and like broaden out the mandate. And I know that he's saying other things, but he should not call this carbon tax election, find a new name, but like he should be safe. You're going to say simple things like it's time to say deport the criminals, right? Like I know he said he's doing it, but if you're going to add like build the homes, axe the tax, balance the budget, deport the criminals, throw it in there, right? Like you got to like. And stop saying it's a carbon tax election, because you can win on a massive mandate. You see what Trump did? He got a good win and he said, just declared this is a mandate to do whatever the hell I want. The people have given me a mandate. And then everyone voted like, yeah, strong mandate. The Conservative Party is up 20 points and are trying to run on the most narrow mandate they possibly can. Only the Conservative Party of Canada could come up with such loser ideas. So if the Conservatives are watching this, tell Jenny to shut the fuck up for a minute and follow your instincts. You don't need people like that in the party with focus groups and all that data. Like, it's all coming from Liberals anyway. So again, I know
Who's Jenny?
Who's Jenny?
Yeah.
You know which Jenny I'm referring to?
No.
A Jenny Byrne. I'll say it. A Jenny Byrne. It's just one of these unelected strategy people inside the party, connected, involved in nomination writings. One of those unelected people who has way more power than they should, and just wants to, run focus.
Like a talking head that's an inch deep and a mile wide kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Conservatives have to be really careful, though, not to be too fringe on the right, because, I mean, unfortunately,
it's not fringe. I'm just saying they have such bad political instincts. Like, I'm not saying run on a wide mandate when you're up 20 when you're beating the Liberals and the NDP together, and they've decided to their literal campaign is going to be, we're going to light ourselves on fire and then jump off a cliff.
From a marketing standpoint, I don't think support is a good word when you're appealing to a constituency where the majority of the people identify as Obama Democrats. Right? We have to remember there's a lot of normies out there in Canada. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not fine. Fair enough. Good point on like the deporting the hard talk. But my general point is, I don't like the Conservatives continuously calling this a carbon tax election. Listen, I hate the carbon tax. If it goes to zero, I will give Pierre a hug. I will say nice things about him. I will Photoshop his face over melees waving a chainsaw while he does it. All good. If the Conservatives are listening, you could do more than just axe the tax in this election. Run on a broader mandate. Run on like a new vision of Canada, restoring Canada. Run on that, and that's then you, because again, you'll be able to, like, things happen so fast in the world now, like, especially like post October 7th and like the Middle East, like these just massive cataclysmic events, like, Syria's collapse. Okay, Israel's on Mount Hamran. Okay, and now Turkey's in Syria, and now like all these crazy things that like would have been like 24-hour news cycles for an entire week. They all just kind of happen like this. So the thought of
rapid fire,
right? If like Canadians were just like, okay, the carbon tax is just gone now, would anyone really like freak out? Like, oh, this is the craziest thing. There's no more carbon tax. What's going to happen? Everyone would be like, yeah, that's like the third craziest thing to happen today because, now, Trump's something like it, you can, run on a bigger mandate because you live in 2024 now, and 2024, 2025, it's going to be completely, the world's changing. I'm very happy we're no longer in the year 2006. Like, talking to the Conservatives pre-Pierre Poilievre, like literally they're in 2006. No, this is how you win. This is how Harper won. You're like, you this playbook is from a time when Facebook just started and there was no Twitter. Okay, like you need to adjust. Now they're on.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at who they're up against too, right? It's not exactly like they're facing an intelligent adversarial foe that they have to outsmart or outwit. The magic elixir here is probably silence. You'd be better off just saying nothing at all, because the Trudeau Liberals are pretty good at hanging themselves on their own words.
Yeah, I don't know, just say be silent, but run on a broad thing. Don't define your don't hyper. My thing is, don't hyper define your mandate right now, because the thing where you're going to need that political capital to do something crazy. I don't think that's true, and in anything that can be weaponized against you, these people then can say you didn't have a mandate to do this, anything outside the carbon tax. That's my 2 cents there. Just want to slam Pierre Poilievre because we're doing foreign interference. So we have to interfere with every single political party, because that's what Modi paid me to do right
now. Yeah, well, I think the CBC is going to do a report where they're going to say how Amit Shah actually influenced Chrystia Freeland, convinced Chrystia Freeland to resign, and then Amit Shah, in his thick Gujarati accent, he called her, Chrystia Ben, you listen to me, you resign, because Gujus will not go.
You resign. White pooper, go back to
that guy was Punjabi. Amit Shah is the Gujarati. Amit Shah is the Gujarati.
I'm just trying to make the CBC as happy as I possibly can.
Yeah, so I want the CBC to do a segment how Indian agents and the Indian Home Minister was in it, and eventually Chrystia Freeland comes off as a Hindu nationalist and a Modi agent, and it will be so much fun. And I want to play a few more clips. Like, I think my life is incomplete till I sufficiently bash Jagmeet Singh. What the hell is happening here?
Justin Trudeau is still the Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party in February and March. Does all options on the table mean the NDP will vote non-confidence in the government in those 2 months on that timeline?
If we're talking the end of February and the beginning of March, and Mr. Trudeau has not stepped down, hasn't he did that call from his own caucus, from his own cabinet, from all the opposition parties, then yes. So of course that would mean if we're coming up to a straight up non-confidence motion the end of February, early March, that's one of the tools that we have. And so there's no doubt about that. I mean, Jagmeet Singh was very, very clear. My concern really, David, isn't just late February, early March. It's right now. People need the supports. We need a government that actually is functional and is putting those supports into place. And we need all hands on deck in terms of the Trump tariffs, which threaten hundreds of thousands of jobs. So this idea that the Liberals can play out a drama over the course of the next few months, simply not on. And the NDP, and I think Jagmeet Singh was very clear about that.
Okay, well, with
this political outfit, man, it's so obvious they're gonna wait for his pension. You know what Jagmeet is? Jagmeet is not sellout Singh. His pension Singh. That's what he is.
Marxist.
No, he's a pension Singh. Oh, Jagmeet, and you know, Pierre Poilievre is right over here to call him out. I think Pierre Poilievre is right. I mean,
Mr. Trudeau is being held in office by one man, Jagmeet Singh. A fifth of Liberal MPs have written a letter for him to resign. His deputy prime minister has walked out on him. His housing minister has quit. That on top of numerous other female ministers who stormed out after his appalling mistreatment and abuse and dishonesty towards them. 80% of Canadians have lost confidence in this prime minister. So why is Jagmeet Singh making the entire country wait for him to get his pension? That is the question today.
but it's all about his pension, man. I mean, how selfish is Jagmeet? Seriously, how selfish is Jagmeet?
Insanely selfish.
Yeah, nobody voted for this. I mean, this is just remarkably undemocratic and un-Canadian.
Oh, by the way, I wanted both of your opinion. This is my nomination for the new Finance Minister of Canada. How about this?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. This is obviously a very important topic and I have some big feelings about it.
Ooh.
So to kick things off, I'm sure you all remember the Freedom Convoy. Yeah,
I do.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me.
I think she should be the Finance Minister. Alex, would you vote for her?
Rachel Gilmore. No.
No. We need her. The country needs her.
I'd vote for Faye Johnstone over Rachel Gilmore.
Why? You misogynistic?
No, yeah. Yeah, no, she's a nightmare. I mean, this is what Canada considers to be an expert witness on journalism. I mean, yeah, it's a complete collapse of the fourth estate. Everything is just collapsing all around us in Canada. It's really remarkable.
Yep. Oh man, and you know, this is coming at a time when the popularity, and the faith Canadians have in their country, this is where we are. This is not good, Daniel and Alex. This is not good. 35%, 34%.
I mean, this is the post-national state. This is.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Yeah, because if you support this government's defining message is that Canada isn't worth loving or respecting, and it's kind of dirty, but we're here to fix it. Like Canada sucked in the past because it was mean, but now it's okay that it got a liberal government, a modern one. And then everyone on the other side has just been like beaten down and spit at, and it's like, are you gonna have pride in Canada under Justin Trudeau? Like, I'm reasonably confident those numbers will go up. They'll be higher 12 months from now than they are currently. I think just getting Trudeau out of office will have a sort of 10% boost on Canadian patriotism just off the bat.
Yes.
I mean, is that so far?
It's true.
Yeah.
No, it's
But Daniel,
true.
you will, at least for the Canadian listeners, you will have to put this on record. I think I'm a bigger Canadian patriot than most Canadians. All of these people.
Yeah, you're
Well,
the only, you text me with like long-winded and anachronistic defenses of Canada to and patriot, but yeah.
So real story. There was I forgot which Twitter handle it was that shared an image of Trudeau wiping the boots of Donald Trump. The first thing I do is pick up the phone and call Daniel and have a 10-minute whining session about it. I was like, I hate Trudeau, but he's still the prime minister. Why are Canadians doing this? And I disliked Indira Gandhi, and I defended Indira Gandhi because you cannot take out an effigy of Indira Gandhi being shot at in Canada. She's the prime minister. Where has that logic gone, Alex? Why is the country becoming the way it is, Canada?
So, I mean, Canada is a really prosperous country still, comparative to the rest of the world. And so I risk sounding like I have a lack of gratitude for it. But I think what makes Canadians so incredulous and angry about the whole thing is that running Canada is like operating a country on easy mode. I mean, we have almost no foreign threats. We have the largest abundance of natural resources. It's a very easy country to govern. We should not have refugee camps for homeless people in Canada. It's remarkable that we have fallen this far, given how many advantages Justin Trudeau and the country started out with 9 years ago. So I think that's why there's so much indignity about the government and about Trudeau specifically.
Yeah, I think it's you're right. Like, it's how we have an immigration crisis. When you look at a map, which by me, to the north, ice and nothing. To the south, the richest country in the history of the world. East, water. West, water. How do you have to manufacture an immigration crisis to get one? And we did. It was self-inflicted. We manufactured it.
And a resource-rich country.
Yeah.
Third largest oil resources in the
Oil
world.
producers.
I think one of the largest uranium deposits in the world. Lumber. The largest freshwater deposits in the world.
Yep.
Basically,
And
you
the most
name it, you guys
ethical
have it.
energy producer in the world. We're the most ethical energy producer in the world.
Yep. There's no reason for this country to be in a bad spot other than
The highest number of Khalistanis in the world.
Exactly. Go back to your England. Go back to your Europe.
Simon, go back.
Kushal.
No,
Mr.
Simon, go
Kushal.
back. That was the
Mr.
best bit.
Kushal,
Simon,
you keep
Which is
doing
still no
podcasts.
higher than
You will
triple
stop
digits.
doing podcasts. Khalistan will make you, and we will come out. We'll have referendum on podcast. No
I
to
think
podcast.
Before we take
No
a
to
few
India.
live viewer
No
questions,
to
I want to
Modi.
play this
No
clip.
to
I think
kushalmehra.
Alex has played this clip. Who is this member of parliament? I love this person. This was amazing. I have to play this. I think, Alex, you put this up.
Mad at myself now for having once thought he's an honest and good person when in truth he would so casually lie to the public. That's a direct quote from former Liberal Cabinet Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould, who learned the Prime Minister is a performative and fake feminist. She resigned. Wow. Even the Finance Minister doesn't have confidence in the Prime Minister. Selena Cesar Chavez, former Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, felt reduced to a prop for the Prime Minister's image rather than valued for her voice. She resigned. How many women will the Prime Minister throw under the bus before the leader of the NDP pulls his pathetic support for this weak Prime Minister? That's right. Canadians are done. Call an election and get rid of this fake, feminist, narcissistic Prime Minister who is destroying this country and Canadians' lives.
Oh, this was good. This was good. This was really good. I was impressed. I was
Michelle
like, damn.
Ferrari.
Yeah, that was good.
Bringing the fire. It's just pretty cool. I mean, the Conservatives are doing what they can, which is humiliating Trudeau every opportunity they get. They're doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah. Conservatives pounce.
Okay, let's take questions before we wrap it up. And again, I have a special video. Again, that was great work, Alex, of the different expressions of Chrystia Freeland. That was the best. I had a laugh. I got up in the morning. The first thing I saw was Alex and his video, a compilation of everything Chrystia Freeland has done. That's going to be a passing shot. I was like, damn, that took some effort. Good work.
I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss her a little bit. You know, she was fun to poke and make fun of. It's kind of like smashing a pinata. You know, you're happy to see the candy, but I'm gonna miss whacking her with the stick.
There'll be other idiots you can whack with a proverbial stick.
So this is a Canadian,
true.
I'm sure. Trudy would go. Not even Trudeau. Trudy would go. His visceral and undying hatred for Poilievre won't let him. He cannot stand losing to Pierre and will burn the nation down if he has to. Holy shit.
So I fully agree with that. The last part of that statement. I've said it. Like, this is Trudeau's MO. He will burn. He has the same mentality as Bashar al-Assad. And this is a very Canadian burning the country down, opposed, like, listen, if Justin Trudeau was running Syria, he'd kill 1 million people and then to be king of the ashes. This is the epitome of I will be king of the ashes. I don't think he cares about the 25% tariff. Like, he was happy to use COVID as a means and excuse for his previous incompetence. And there is such a debilitating narcissism that at no point can he ever admit that he was wrong. So yeah, like, he'll take the beating of the Canadian people in the next election, but there is an inability for him to say, you know, for the good of country and party, I realize that I'm no longer the most effective man to steer this thing. Due to the heat, I've become a bit of a lightning rod for controversy. So I'm going to do the honorable thing. I'm going to step aside so the country can get to a more normal conversation. I'm proud of the work I've done. I'm proud of the people I've done it with. And I think history will show that what we accomplished here was something amazing and blah, 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 blah. Diversity, feminism, Islamophobia. He could do that, but he's just incapable of doing it.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, I think the contempt for the public has for the government is only outmatched by the contempt the government has for the public.
Yeah. So do you think the Liberals will throw Trudeau under the bus and choose Freeland or someone else? Or, like, do you think that's going to happen, Alex?
No.
Wow.
Because the party whip is where in Westminster democracy goes to die. Right. So ultimately, as long as Trudeau's the leader, he's too narcissistic to step down. I don't see anything changing, unfortunately.
Well, Daniel, this is an appreciation for us. Well, thank you, Anish. This is from across the border in America. Thank you very much. At least we make you laugh. Americans laughing at Canadians these days is the going line. So I don't know if I'm supposed to take it nicely or
I thought they were laughing with us.
Entertainment for our neighbors.
It's like, and I've noticed this, the Indian origin folks living in America, they don't miss a beat to poke fun at the Canadian on this side of the border, especially with people like me. Like, my friends in America, they call me, so how's it going in the 51st state? I was like, oh my God, you guys have started too. They make it a point that they call me and they remind me. It's very, very, very annoying, to say the least. I think this sums up. Jagmeet has no loyalty to Canada. His loyalty is only to the mad ideology of Khalistan. He supports mass immigration and as it adds value to his voter base. That's actually true. Jagmeet is not is Jagmeet a politician for all Canadians?
No.
And this is I don't think so. He is.
Well, I wrote about this recently. I don't know if you saw it, but one of the reflections of how ineffectual Jagmeet Singh is as a politician is he has increased the Sikh representation in the NDP by exactly 0 MPs since he's been the leader. Not one other Sikh MP has been elected within the NDP. I kind of reject the notion that a Khalistani vote bank even really exists at the electoral level. At the primary level, maybe, but at the electoral level, I don't think there's much evidence for it.
Yeah, I think you're like I totally agree with you. I've said I would say this on Indian media over the last years. Like you're right, it's not actually vote bank politics. Like it's not a vote bank, it's a money bank, it's a corruption bank, and it does exist at the primary level, right? It's a primary level thing.
Exactly.
But you like, and again, this was actually the BC election where they didn't run Khalistanis to brown people, even in Surrey, in the brownest place in all of Canada. Most brown people want a white guy to be the politician, and it could be black. They want someone with a born here, understand, who speaks English and does all this stuff. And like this Khalistani vote bank that is there, like if the conservatives are smart, like you can actually really message them, like because they're pretty conservative with like the gender ideology stuff. Like that's pretty like like saying like, hey, we shouldn't turn your 6-year-olds into transgender whatevers is far more effective as a voting poll to the average Sikh Canadian than Khalistan is. And it's just it's money and violence and like the monopolization of the primaries. And you know, maybe some financial kickbacks through like the organized crime and the drug running and all that stuff. But in terms of actual like, oh no, what are we gonna do? There's so many Khalistanis here, we can't vote them out. I'm totally with you, Alex, that might be a primary level problem, but the conservative, any party can fix that because every primary can be rigged at any time for any reason. There's no law against it. So if you just say no more Khalistanis, like you could just literally stop them at the primary level and say no. And in terms of like the vote bank, when it gets down to it, like they don't have that much power. Like maybe some ridings you could say like a Khalistani thing.
Maybe Surrey Newton,
but it's not like
with Dollywell's riding would be probably the only one.
Yeah.
All the other ridings with Khalistani MPs, they don't have a Sikh population more than one digit.
Exactly. And
so.
Yeah, it's purely at the nomination level that. So I'm glad we agree on that.
But the Indian media has run away with that anyways. That's one of those kind of mythologies.
No, I think I think I disagree with both of you. I think you guys underestimate the Khalistani influence in terms of votes because honestly, beyond a point, you don't understand the regional language media of Canada because you don't know the language. We do. We listen to them. We research them. Yes, there is a deep influence of the Khalistanis on certain ridings in Canada because Canada is nothing but as far as Indians are concerned, a glorious municipal corporation election of Mumbai. That's all it is. Try and understand. The win-loss margin for a parliamentary seat is not that much. You don't need 500,000 Khalistanis. You just need 100 to 150,000 Khalistanis. And yes, there are 100 to 150,000 people who are Khalistani adjacent in Canada. They are.
Right, but they're concentrated mostly in 1 or 2 ridings.
Yes. So when they
as opposed to across the entire country.
I think probably 7 to 8 ridings from my understanding now. And what they do is, as far as the electoral vote, they only influence 7 to 8 ridings now. But the money power, listen, you have to look at the endowments some of these organizations that influence Canadian politics have, which is why I keep saying that why is the Air India bombing investigation being attempted to be reopened for the 3rd time when it was a open and shut case? Why do these things happen? They punch way above their weight, and the problem is
but I think it's better understood as an electoral financing bank than as a vote bank. I think that vote bank is a bit of a misnomer because the demographics the math just doesn't work.
The voting matters at the nomination level if it's like fair. But I think Alex and I agree. Like we're not saying that there aren't voting Khalistanis who people vote on Khalistan and it affects. I think we just agree like their bigger effect is through like crime and money and sort of backdoor control and like getting involved with like the CCP and the Muslim Brotherhood and the ISI and all these other groups who are part of this sort of conglomeration of nefarious influence.
Just think about it, right? I entered Canada 3 years ago, re-enter Canada 3 years ago. I was not there for a giant time. I come back. But this time, the only difference is I have a reasonably popular platform now amongst Indo-Canadians too. I entered the scenario. I have never hidden it. I have dual loyalties. I love Canada and India both. I've never hidden it. I will never hide it. I've never hidden the fact that I vote for Modi. Never hidden it from. You look at my first video, and I've said I vote for Modi. I've never I believe in the principle of transparency. I actually believe that I've never hidden the fact that I am a disbeliever. In fact, my whole freaking book that I wrote, which has been a bestseller in India, is about disbelief. I have never hidden the fact that my next book is going to be calling for blasphemy laws in India, like removal of blasphemy laws in India. We have blasphemy laws in India. But what has changed now is, like, why is the CBC hit job, which Daniel keeps talking about, coming? It's because of the influence a certain community has on the media landscape, on a certain class of journalists, on certain members of parliament. And these things should not be discounted. There is way too much. They keep talking about Indian foreign interference. Let's assume there is Indian foreign interference, but in the Hague Commission hearings, all the CSIS reps could say is, well, actually, the Indians are only concerned about Khalistan. You guys remember, right? The CSIS representative clearly said the Indians are concerned about two things in Canada: Khalistan and can we trade? I think that's good kind of interference. Indians want to trade with you. That's the good bit of interference. But the problem is nobody talks about Pakistan interference in Canada.
Well, I did.
Khalistan is a Pakistan.
I did. I've written about it.
Yeah, we did. I said it on week 1 of the Heart of Signature thing. I said this is a case of Pakistani foreign interference being billed as Indian foreign interference to distract from Chinese foreign interference. That was so, but I'm agreeing with you. I'm just sort of, I think, to synergize all three of our points together is, you're right. It shouldn't be downplayed what the Khalistan are doing. And I think what Alex and I are trying to say is it should be best understood if we're going to confront it. So saying as like calling it like the vote bank makes it think that there's so many here, where it's actually like, no, it's money and influence. And like Boz News is writing a CBC hit piece that's laundered through a white guy, which comes to attack me and every other Hindu organization. And this is a money and influence. And like, where does this come from? Like CBC is not doing it to win votes, right? Why is the CBC doing it? The CBC is doing it because it's part of the narrative ecosystem of uplifting different lunatics who play lip service to the general, what you could say, diversity, leftist, social justice philosophy of oppressor oppressed. So because they play into the narrative and they do that, they get certain special privileges, which is, oh no, there's this rowdy Jew. He's going around saying, don't kill the Hindus. Can you please, write an article about all the bad things he's ever said his entire life? And they go, yeah, how much will I mean, you might have heard, like, so they're now they're influencing, they're emailing different influencers that I've been part with. But like before they went for the influencers, they went for every Hindu organization I've ever partnered with, which is like 80% of them in the country. And like went after that. And like it's not even like the Jonathan Monpeat guy. It's like another guy. They have like multiple people working on this. It's not just like one guy's story, like, oh, you do and he just like following it down. Like it's so clearly like there's someone at the top is like, okay, we need a story about Hindu nationalists and Zionists doing foreign interference together, go after these guys. And yeah, it's like it is like when you stop and think about it, it's like, oh, this is kind of fucked up how this country is like working. This is kind of like Banana Republic shit, but it's all just like so expected now that it's like, oh yeah, of course the CBC would like spend like, I don't know, $200,000 like trying to like harass me and like having an intern research every tweet I've ever made and fact check it thoroughly. Like, all right, fine. Like this is where we're going.
Like I'll explain, right? Everybody talks about foreign interference. It's just in Canada, it is the most misused word. In fact, I reached out to a journalist too, right? I'm not going to play the video again, but I'm just going to share this screen to make you guys understand how bad things are in Canada. So this is an exclusive footage of, Khalistani extremists led by... These are Canadian Khalistanis, by the way. They're not Indians. They're Canadian Khalistanis. And I just want to share a story about who these people are. I've played this video in the previous time too. This is from the 90s, 80s and the 90s. But what most people don't remember is who these people are. Okay, the first person that you saw meeting Avtar Singh Brahma is Gurdeep Dhillon. Who is Gurdeep Dhillon? Gurdeep Dhillon is also called Pinky Dhillon, or as some Indians will call him Dhillon. Punjabis call him Dhillon. So this guy is the mama, as in the mother's brother, of the ex-Liberal MP from Brampton East, Raj Grewal. That's what I've understood. Okay. Now look at the connections. Then the fourth guy was Harkinder Espara. He is the guy who attacked Balraj Deol, the Canadian journalist, in the 1980s. Now Harkinder Singh Para then went to Pakistan. From Pakistan entered India, where he was shot dead in a police encounter. He was trying to attack Indians, right? This is it. Now, who is Raj Grewal? You guys remember Raj Grewal, the alleged gambling debt, then allegedly at that time
pooping at the gas station,
pooping at the gas station incident, and many other things, and also taking uninvited people to India in Trudeau's state visit. See, these are serious things. Like, I can assure you the Hindu community does not have this kind of an influence in Canadian politics. They don't.
It's a really strange narrative shift too, because you went from the days of Terry Milewski at the CBC, who drew a direct line between the Khalistani movement and the ISI, and directly acknowledged Khalistani terrorism in India, specifically through the 80s and 90s. And now Terry Milewski retires, or his memory hold, and you have this new guy, Evan Dyer, who just does a complete narrative shift at a 45-degree angle. All of a sudden, the Khalistanis are completely exonerated, and they're just a peaceful, law-abiding movement that we should just respect out of principles for free speech. It's a very kind of strange form of gaslighting.
They're playing with fire, and they don't understand what they're playing with. Is because they don't understand the community dynamics. They don't understand history. They don't know what happened in Punjab. They truly don't have. They don't know what happened in Punjab. For example, they talk about how this is such a nice and peaceful movement, right? This is such a progressive movement. Everything is so progressive about this movement. Everything is so wonderful about this movement. I'm going to open an article. This article was written in, I think, January 1991. Yeah, 15 January 1991. This article was called "The Rule of the Gun." This is right from the India Today archives, 1991. And I want to play this as a reminder to Canadians. If you are a school teacher, you learn the new curriculum. No Jana Gana Mana, that is the Indian national anthem. No Hindi, no skirts, trousers, or frocks in your school. Default, and the gunmen will come calling. As they did last fortnight for Nirmal Kanta, headmistress of a government school at Rajora near Patiala. All she wanted was a few weeks before her girls could change from frocks to salwar kameez. Her girls, she argued, came from poor factory workers' families. For arguing, she got 2 bullets through her belly. While teachers learn the new curriculum, set by the Khalistanis, by the way, for the record, the journalists learn the new speak of militancy. Terrorists are now militants. Khadkus or Khalistani Mujahideen. Every militant's name must be prefixed with Bhai or Sardar. And if you work for Air or Doordarshan, you stop broadcasting in Hindi. Hindi is an official language of India, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. You even put Punjabi subtitles on song in Chitrahar. There used to be a show which used to play Hindi music or Indian music. Absurd, but may save your life. So for Canadians who keep talking about, Khalistan, what Khalistan? What happens during Khalistan? This is just an excerpt of what used to happen in India. This is a 1991 article. I have the entire archives of Punjab with me. And it is all there in my memory.
My question to you would be, do you think that the CBC really doesn't know the dynamics, or do you think that they're just hoping their audience doesn't know?
A bit of both, but more of the latter, less of the former.
So I can tell you from asking CBC, I literally spent an hour with one of them, and I could tell, looking in his eyes in the first question, the kind of how he wanted to start is how did you get interested in India? I learned the wind up was basically what makes you an expert in India. That's what they're trying to go with. But I said this and that, and then he said what makes you in India there? And I said listen. I think what my thing is here is I have the ability to understand, both sides. a lot of the problems we're having right now is we just kind of put Canadian or Western worldviews onto countries like India and look at it from a Canadian point of view and we make misunderstandings. Conversely, I think a lot of the problems India is having is they're looking at Canada through like an Indian framing district, and like they go after Canada, which I've seen that on Indian news, and they get that wrong all the time. I think that's why I'm good in both worlds, because I try and the look on his face when I was saying this was like bewildered. Because he expected that, like he just didn't expect me to say something that would sort of touch on his more left-wing soul, because like what I said, like I truly believe. Like I actually try and understand India or Iran or other places I talk about that I'm not from. But I don't ever like pretend, Justin Trudeau, that like I am one of you, sir. Like this, I don't like. If I go to Indians, I don't pretend like, oh, I'm one of your brothers and in the sense. It's like, no, I'm coming from a Canadian point of view and we get along, and that's a more thing. What he couldn't really understand and what he refused to understand through the entire interview, what I think like the emotional underpinning of it. And he didn't understand that he could believe that I understood a conservative Canadian point of view. He couldn't believe that I could understand an Indian person's point of view because I'm not good enough. But more than that, he really didn't understand. And again, I also understand a Khalistani. I understand what the Khalistanis are saying. Like I actually understand what their thoughts and feelings and I've read their stuff. I know what Panoon's thing is. I know what the Khalistan referendum is about, right? I know Ranjit Singh's empire. Like I understand the Khalistanis. I understand like my point of view. I understand the India's point of view, and I understood his point of view. Like I understood the CBC, and like the weakness of the CBC is at no point could he ever shift gears, even to take me on, and because he's still dead set on destroying me. But they like, you know thy enemy, like Sun Tzu, like very typical. Like if you want to like attack me or Kushal or Alex here, you should understand where we're coming from, what our thoughts and motivations are, and how we see things. You don't have to believe them, but if you really wanted to like fuck with us, at least try and understand where we're coming from. He was unwilling to do that. Not unwilling, incapable is more accurate of doing that, because if he acknowledged that our side is a theory of mind and we're not doing things because we're stupid, evil, or paid to, then his entire worldview would collapse. So to maintain, like, again, this is what I kind of understood, like to maintain his worldview, he has to say we're the good ones, and anything that Alex or Daniel or Kushal is saying right now is because they're either stupid, evil, or paid to. And that was his key flaw.
And these Muppets call me a Modi agent. I just did a podcast 12 hours or 14 hours ago where I was criticizing a policy of Modi. I did an entire podcast breaking down how I disagree with the policy.
I came on your show and defended the Khalistanis like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I've always defended the Khalistanis' right to burn an Indian flag inside Canada. I've been very consistent on this issue. Listen, burn the
just
Indian
because
flag.
you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they can.
But they can. They can, absolutely. And I kind of defend their right to. Yeah. Even though I think it's a really stupid thing to do, I don't recommend it.
I will defend their right to burn an Indian flag or even a Canadian flag on Canadian soil. However, if they make pamphlets and hand them out to children about who all the good shaheeds are and why they should go to India to kill people, then I will. Then I want that Gurdwara shut down. It's like you have free speech, you can do this, but you can't hand terrorist pamphlets to kids, right? As long as there's some lines here, right? So we have that. Like again, full speech, burn the flag. But once you're putting out terrorist pamphlets, praising mass murder and advocating for children to follow in the steps of murderers who are the glorious shaheeds, then okay, like now we need to do something. But the absolute gaslighting joke that Justin Trudeau cares about free speech. Like when the Khalistanis come, free speech, you got to protect it. No, you don't care. Stop gaslighting us. You don't like. You can't say, Khalistan is about free speech and then do bills C-16, C-11, and or C-18, 11, and 63. Like, you just
C-63.
It's a very selective type of free speech, right? It's like the animal farm principle, where all the animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know what my worry is, Alex, as a Punjabi, as a person of Indian origin, the Khalistanis are the single largest reason for the bad image of Indian community. That is, Indians have the best image. They have the best image in the United Kingdom. They have the highest ratings in terms of positive ratings in the United States of America even today. And the Khalistanis have, through their deeds, through the immigration scams, through all these things, have destroyed the image of the Indian community in Canada. My biggest fear for the community there is that they will bear the brunt of it. That's what scares me
But
the most.
I think it's really important for Canadian viewers, more so than Indian viewers, is to decouple Sikhism from Khalistanism, because those two things just aren't the same thing. They're not synonymous. I mean, I would say that
And I hope that happens. But a question for you, Alex: even if Pierre Poilievre comes with an absolute majority, would he be able to revive Canada in one term? What's your take on it? The viewer thinks the damage is too big, in his opinion.
No, I don't think so. I'm fairly optimistic. There's so much waste that it would be easy to cut the fat pretty quick. Is my short take.
Do you think Canada has to get off this 25% of the economy being real estate and going back to some oil digging or something of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, that would be our best bet, of course. I mean, I think this whole Trump thing has been kind of a positive thing in some regards, because it's, of course, forced us to recalibrate and focus on what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are. And energy is definitely one of our strengths.
Yeah, I was looking at the Canadian economy. It goes like this and like this, and then like this again and like this. So every time, what I've understood is the Conservatives bring that up, then Canadians become fat and rich, and then they start spending with the Liberals, and then the Liberals crash the economy. Then the Conservatives come dig again, take it up, then the Liberals crash it again. But are Canadians that stupid? Why don't they understand?
Yeah, we are that
Daniel,
stupid.
simple. Yes, they're stupid.
There's total media control. There isn't maybe it'll be a bit different in post Poilievre because we'll have alternative media and Canadians will switch to X and get around. But for years, Canadians have been locked into Global News, CTV News, CBC News, and the analysis and bombarded with procedure and this. The CBC turned a $16 orange juice into a bigger scandal than SNC Lavalin.
That is so insulting. Somebody said if Kushal is a Modi agent, then I'm Beyonce. Man, and you know what the investigation of these jackasses is? Kushal says he votes for Modi, so he's a Modi agent. What the hell? It's a democracy. I'm supposed to vote for someone.
But this is like the racist of it's a brown people democracy. That's how I look at it. They'll get so racist on the Modi thing of yeah, it's a Modi, but
yeah, I just want to I want to announce this. If I was in Canada, if I had the right to vote, I would vote Conservative. Now I'm a Pierre Poilievre agent in India.
Yeah.
There, I've officially announced that I'm a Pierre Poilievre agent in India. I am Conservative agent, a Conservative Party of Canada agent in India. Now the RNAW can look me up and correct me. But before we wrap up, Alex, I want to give you another time to summarize the clusterfuck that Canada is right now, thanks to Justin Trudeau. But and I also, before that, I have to play this wonderful compilation. I think nobody could have summarized Chrystia Freeland better than Alex has. Thank you, Alex, for this wonderful contribution to the human race. Oh my God, this was so good. I love this. I loved every moment of this. And the song was so perfect. Itchy Twitchy Feeling.
It was Ray McGinnis who recommended that song, and as I've said elsewhere on Twitter and other places, I really genuinely hope that Chrystia Freeland gets the help that she desperately needs for whatever's wrong with her.
Yeah. Being a massive would be one of them.
Hey, Dan, you can take this one last question before we wrap up. Somebody has asked you, will Pierre Poilievre, how will he compare to Harper? UK Tories 2.0? I hope not.
I like Harper. I honestly, I just
I
want
love
somebody who's competent.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's different times, and again, like Harper took over came in on like back when a scandal would sink the government, like the sponsorship scandal. Harper came in and sort of like went from minority to majority to leading to do that. It was like a very classic conservative versus liberal arc. Poilievre, it's a completely different thing, a completely different world. Harper also had to create a new party, had to merge. Like conservative parties kind of get together and then break apart. They get together and break apart. It's sort of the history of Canada. Harper sort of reforged the party. So Harper's journey is completely different politically than Pierre Poilievre's. I mean, I hope we're talking 3 years from now of who's better, Poilievre or Harper. Like, or I hope 3 years from now we're talking about, wow, I love Harper, but he's not even in the same league as Poilievre, who's 3 tiers higher than him because we've cut. We're back to one Ministry of Women, one Ministry of Indigenous something. There is no gender thing. DEI is gone. He's opened up the economy. He worked at a pipeline with Trump. The military is now funded. The border is secure. Like the Arctic is under control. Resources are getting to market really quickly. And he's able to lead in a way that both through action and he's able to verbally use his talent as an orator better than Harper had, although Harper is pretty good at making speeches and he's a very interesting man to listen to. He's not explosive, but maybe Poilievre could be more dynamic. I hope that's the conversation we're having. Sorry. I hope that is. Harper set a very high bar, but it's a little apples and oranges with the type of job they're going to be asked to do because, this is a cleanup on aisle everywhere. Is sort of the call that Poilievre is facing now. Cleanup aisles 1 through 20.
Yeah, and I'm a little worried for Poilievre because his best quality is his ability to make humor out of the crisis that we find ourselves in, but it's not going to be quite as funny when he's in charge. So that's going to be a challenge for him as Prime Minister.
I think the immigration bit is going to be a giant challenge. In my view, the economy is going to be a giant challenge. I think the economy can be fixed if Canada just goes away from real estate. The immigration is going to be a giant challenge, and whether people like it or not.
By the way, when Kushal says real estate, in Canada, in English, the Canadian
housing,
money laundering. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that was not me. That was Daniel. I just meant real estate and housing. That's all I meant. But the single largest challenge for Pierre Poilievre will be resurrecting the American relationship, managing the Chinese relationship, and reviving the Indian relationship. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not paid attention, India is the top 5 economy of the world, one of the most powerful militaries in the world. You cannot ignore India. You cannot ignore such a giant country. And Justin Trudeau has picked up a fight with India for no reason when 6% of Canada is of Indian origin. You can't pick up such fights, and they'll have to solve it. My biggest worry has been, how do we manage the Indian relationship from a Canadian perspective? Because we need to trade more with India, right? So look at the situation. India needs uranium. What does Canada have? Uranium. India needs oil. What does Canada have? Oil. Whatever. Actually, it's the perfect relation, right? Both countries are crazy
resources,
socialists.
not enough people. Too many people, not enough resources, and literally the resources they need fit on the ones that we have in abundance.
Yeah.
Like, can we figure this?
And both countries are left-leaning, for the record.
Yeah, they're both Commonwealth countries, Westminster democracies.
BJP is not a right-wing party. Look at their policies. BJP is pretty left of center. BJP is very left of center. The Indian conservatives are exactly like the Canadian conservatives. They're left-wing. So there's no
pretty socialist bunch out there.
Yeah.
In India.
India and Canada are so similar. Why do you think Indians assimilate so easily in Canada? It's like going from dirty to clean version of India. The political system, it's insane. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Well, and hopefully when Paul Yeb is Prime Minister, we'll have some members of Parliament governing from jail as well. And we'll have that in common with India too.
Who do you think will go to jail? I don't think so. Anybody's gonna go to jail. Nobody.
If anybody's going to go, it'll be Randy Boissonneau. If he doesn't go, nobody will.
Yeah.
So,
well, which Randy?
Yeah, right. Yeah, strong eagle man, cocaine Randy. Take your pick.
He actually called him so strong eagle man. I love it. So you can hate Trudeau sometimes, but like when
it's like he went to like a random Indian name generator on Google.
Your name's Randy, but they call me Strong Eagle Man.
Oh, is this the guy, Daniel, that you shared a picture of or something of that sort? That guy who pretended to be indigenous or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the minister. Yeah. Like he got caught in a corruption thing, and then there was giving contracts to another Randy, which he was getting contracts, and Randy's like, oh no, there are two Randys. It's like he invented a fake Randy. Right? It's like, oh, it could have someone else, and then it turns out like they were looking into it. Then it's like, wait, you applied to this as indigenous.
This guy,
indigenous. Yes,
this guy, right?
Yes,
Canada is a country that currently has a cabinet minister pretending to be an indigenous person named Strong Eagle Man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Strong Eagle Man Randy. And on that wonderful note, once again, Alex, thanks for joining us on such a short
thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah. So what we try to do over here on this show is Dan and I, while we have serious discussions, we also try to have a laugh. So we, it's kind of depressing if you become very serious about how things are going, especially if you're Indo-Canadian, right? Like I repeat this again and again, as a person who loves both the countries, it's kind of depressing right now to see how things are for as far as India and Canada is concerned. So Daniel and I, we try to do our bit. So once again, thank you very much. Dan, anything else you want to add to Strong Eagle Man?
No, I think I'll leave on. I should have thought of my indigenous name of Fast Talking Jew, but Strong Eagle Man will have to do for now.
That's what the CBC will call you, Fast Talking Jew.
Yeah, you should request that they refer to you in their article by your non-status pre-identifying name.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll wrap this up over here. But before we wrap it up, in the description of the podcast, you have the X handle of both Alex and Daniel. So go follow them on X. You can follow me on X too. My handle is also there. I've left the link to Daniel's PayPal and Alex's Buy Me a Coffee. So if you guys want to donate directly to both Alex and Daniel, you guys can donate over. Just click the link and you can donate to both Alex and Daniel. And then if you're an Indian who donates to Alex and Daniel, by the logic of the CBC, they automatically become Indian agents, because that's how the world rolls right now, because we are all Indian agents. Everybody is an Indian agent. I've been a subscriber for Michael Shermer for more than 2 years. Michael Shermer, the skeptic of America, is also an Indian agent, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody is an Indian agent. But if you want, on a serious note, if you want me to talk about issues that matter and to talk about issues that matter without any fear of reprisal or anything, then please do consider joining the membership program of the Cārvāka podcast. You can become a member directly on YouTube or on Patreon. And then when you Canadians become my Patreon members or my YouTube members, then I'm a Canadian agent. So, we will balance it all out. Indians will be giving money to Canadians. Canadians will be giving money to Indians. And if you can't do any of that, just like, subscribe. And if you're an audio listener, just leave a rating in the audio platform. I'll see you guys next time. I'm signing off from Canada. That's it. Bye-bye.